There must be something wrong with you. Let's put LSD in your body a lot.
Was a victim of Dr. Cameron. He was a 27-year-old healthy skier, canoeer, very athletic, and he had asthma. They told him if he went to the Allen Memorial, they could cure his asthma.
My brother Charles was a patient at Dr. Cameron's. He had a trigeminal neuralgia, it's called, where there's a pain in the temple that radiates into the jaw that apparently is excruciatingly painful. They told him that it was psychosomatic, which it's not, but in those days, what did they know? So they sent him to a shrink. This shrink that he went to was working with Cameron, although we didn't know. So he put my father right into the program.
I was having trouble with my parents. My father and my stepmother decided to put me in the Allen Memorial Institute. I was 16 when I was there.
Dr. Cameron pursued a concept he called depatterning, which was meant to reduce patients to an infantile psychological state wherein doctors could take advantage of the person's cognitive vulnerability to attempt to rebuild their mind under the doctor's control. A popular method of choice to achieve this was called psychic driving.
The day that my father was brought to the hospital, they immediately put him on insulin, to put him into like an insulin coma. They took clips from the interview with the shrink and put it on tape to run a loop under his pillow while he was put into the sleep treatment.
He also was put in an insulin coma for 36 days with a recording beside him saying that your mother hates you over and over and over and over and over.
That was beside my bed constantly, repeated 250,000 and 500,000 times.
I can't drop my jaw anymore.
The use of extreme Page Russell electroshock therapy.
Page Russell shock treatment is approximately 40 to 75 times the strength of a normal shock treatment. So it's really designed to wipe out the memory.
He received 54 high voltage.
This is just torture. This is a bunch of crazy people torturing innocent people who can't fight back. That's what this is. This is literally what's his face, the Mengele. This is Mengele 2.0.
Shock treatments followed by 54 grand mal seizures.
After 27 days of this,
they said we shocked him 54 times and he had 54 seizures. Let's try and shock him one more time.
They said that they were discouraged because he still had ties to his former life.
He is quite antagonistic against his hospitalization and not willing to accept a psychiatric diagnosis. What, for his asthma?
In that he was asking to see his wife. They decided to give him more Page Russell shock treatments and put him to sleep for another 30 days.
When patients were released from the Allen Memorial, they and their families' lives would never be the same again.
Well, there's a lot I could not remember after I got out of the Allen. When my family came, I was a zombie. I didn't even know who they were.
He never came out the same. He had a blank look in his eye. He didn't know who we were.
Why the frick are they doing this? Why are they wiping people's brains? Well, I think it's because they want to replace it with whatever they want.
Dr. Elliot Emanuel knew Cameron.
He was an authoritarian, ruthless, power-hungry, nervous, tense, angry man. Not very nice.
Probably on
drugs.
drugs.
At Ravenscraig, Dr. Cameron went further with drugs and electric shock treatments than any of the U.S. researchers in the mkultra project dared. His aim was to wipe the mind clean. Then he would implant new messages by forcing the patient to listen to a hypnotic repetition, as many as 250,000 times. This was called psychic driving. Most of the drugs used in the program were experimental.
This is bananas. But yeah, so this is what they did. They did this for a lot of years, and then they said that they stopped it. They said, oh, people are hearing about this, and they're really pissed. Let's just stop it. Yeah, let's stop it. We realize the error of our ways. We, the CIA, actually, we're going to change our goal from working for the top few rich families in the world, the elites, and their companies. I think that we're going to work for the American people. That's what they said. And that's why they don't do this kind of stuff anymore. And they actually haven't, ever. They stopped it. They said, this is wrong.
Was forced to pay for the so-called treatment, massive electric shocks, and all the drugs.
They would give me as much as 40 pills a day. And I would ask the nurse, what is that? They would say it's a new drug, and they only name it by a number.
What did all those drugs do to you? How did they make you feel?
Well, I was very, very strong, well-powered. So these drugs kind of desensitize me. They would lower my reactions. They would lower my...
This sounds like you have a mental illness because your symptom is you have a strong sense of justice. I have that mental illness too. I don't think it's a mental illness though. I think that's normal. I think that the people who are feel normal and thrive in the current way we live, they are mentally ill. Yes.
As well as the experimental drugs and massive electric shock treatments, Mrs. Huard was subjected to psychic driving. Hypnotic-like messages were repeated over and over to a sleeping patient, sometimes for as long as 16 hours in a row. They were a key part of the mind control experiment. This is how Mrs. Huard remembers one of the messages.
Why are you running away from your responsibility, Janine? Why, Janine? Why? Janine, why are you running away from your responsibility? Why are you running away from your responsibility, Janine? Why are you running away from your responsibility, Janine? Why?
I would try very strongly not to let my mind be capturing all the messages, but they would lower my resistance so much with the other drugs, but I couldn't do otherwise than listen.
Did you ever ask them how any of this was making you better?
No, I didn't ask question. I was just say, I don't want to go through it again. And I would cry. I didn't want it to, you know. I knew it. Way down in my heart, I knew it wasn't good. But,
too bad.
you know, how could you fight? You're in a hospital where it's supposed to be the best.
Yep.
With the best doctors, so
That's what we think.
what can you do?
I'd say, I
Run.
can't take it anymore. I can't stand it. I don't think this is doing me any good. I feel worse. And he'd walk down the hall a little way with me and put his arm on my shoulder. And come on now, Lassie, you know you're going to do it. And finally I'd say, well, okay. And off we'd go to my room and he would give me another injection and then pat me on the shoulder and off he'd be again. I had LSD, I believe, a total of 14 times. And sometimes there would be 4 days.
And dudes, they're giving them massive doses. Like, not a dose that anyone would take, like, recreationally. Like, they're trying to mess up people's brains. They're trying to see if we can chemically mush people's brains around, you know? I wonder if this Cameron guy, was he a chill guy? Was he a nice dude, at least?
But I never saw him once in all the times that I saw him that I wasn't afraid. Every time I went down to his office, I would shake with fear. And every time I'd see him coming down the hall, I'd shake with fear.
In 1973, the mkultra program was terminated, and some of the evidence of its activities was systematically erased.
The whole thing was basically discovered because of a whistleblower named John Marks, who wrote the first book really about the program called The Search for the Manchurian Candidate. There were congressional hearings here in the United States in the mid-70s after it had been exposed.
Do you guys know what a Manchurian Candidate is? It's a person who gets brainwashed into forgetting that they were brainwashed until they hear like a code word or something, like peppermint, and then it makes your brain go, wait, peppermint, I'm a zombie, I must kill the president. CIA, that was a character. I'm going to put that in quotes just so you know. Don't take that out of context. But anyway, so Manchurian Candidate is someone that the CIA could send two people to assassinate by giving them like a code word, and then boom, as soon as they do it, they wipe their own brain. This is what mkultra is. This is what they're trying to do. And you know what? I don't think that they ever fully completed that, because I don't think any of these like assassins have been mkultra, you know, for the president or anything. But I think that they may have figured out that they could get them to do some lone wolf stuff instead. They said, we'll settle for this. What if they just do mass tea events, you know? What if we got them to do things like shooting up schools? Or what if we got them to do things like shooting up churches? Yes, we know it's bad, but once everyone's scared because we're shooting up all these churches and schools and shopping malls and wherever you go, you know, the movie theater, people will be in constant fear forever. And when they're in constant fear forever, they don't look around and go, this government is messed up. So instead of just making a decent government that isn't brutal and trying to destroy all their citizens, they said, let's spend more money than it would cost to do that other plan and figure out how to make them all not have a choice. Make them all live in fear so that they never say anything about America. That's how our government thinks. That's the people that we've let be in charge of our lives. And that's how they think.
And during those hearings, the CIA finally admitted that this program existed. They admitted that it was probably not the right thing to do.
Probably.
But they feigned innocence.
Despite the congressional hearings and marginal interest in the subject in popular culture, most mkultra survivors suffered in silence, taking their trauma with them to the grave. Today, having received no formal apology or compensation,
that is the whole plan, too, with the CIA. I think it's like H.W. Bush was the person who is like said, quoting this or whatever, but deny everything and confirm nothing. That's what the CIA's goal is.